Award-winning writer and director Steven Spielberg finds inspiration from his childhood for his latest film.
And every single scene is masterfully shot and well acted, but there's a warning woven throughout the entire movie that we'll explore.
We're talking about The Fablemans on this episode of the Finding Good podcast with Kevin and Milton.
Welcome back to another episode of the Finding Good podcast. I'm Kevin.
I'm Milton.
Yeah, and we're just two guys who watch movies, and we love to dive deep and talk about the themes and, you know, maybe relate it to our lives, hopefully your life a little bit. So we're excited to talk about one of my favorite directors, Steven Spielberg. He's back with a new kind of arty film. He does these two different films.
Sure.
Obviously, he's an amazing director, writer, huge filmography.
That's
right. Is that the right word?
Well done.
Right. Thank you very much. Your favorite in the filmography?
It's hard. If I'm gonna go like just feel good movie, I like E.T.
Okay.
Right. But if I'm gonna go like a little bit grittier, deeper with just mind blowing stuff, Minority Report.
Oh, okay. All right.
Love those two movies.
Well, mine is Jurassic Park.
Okay.
And probably Ready Player One.
Oh, Ready Player One's great.
It was so good.
So great.
And I'll go with you with Minority Report. I also liked War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
like
it's hard to say, but easy to watch.
With Tom Cruise. Yeah. We were kind of looking up here before we started on movies that Steven Spielberg has done.
Okay.
And like Indiana Jones.
Oh, great.
Munich.
Munich is awesome.
Yeah. The Goonies. Gremlins.
Gremlins is great.
I don't know if I can trust this list.
Why not?
Because you pointed out.
Oh, gold member. Yeah. There's no way. Steven Spielberg, no.
You don't think he was just a little bit?
No. That's an error.
Oh,
call Google.
To me.
Fix that.
Austin Powers.
No.
I don't think he had anything to do with that. So I'm not sure I can trust that list at large. A lot of good stuff. We are going to talk some spoiler alerts here. Yeah. So if you haven't seen the movie The Fablemans, I don't know if we can ruin it really that much, because this was just a very well scripted, well acted, well directed movie. No explosions. No major.
Well, there were some explosions, but it made sense in the movie.
Yeah.
Because the main character, who supposedly is a representation of Steven Spielberg himself, is a young man who falls in love with film from a very young age. Mm-hmm. And he starts making his own films. And, you know, he has that World War II movie where they have these little explosions.
I'm not the only one. You have trouble saying it, too.
World War II movie. And, you know, they use, little explosions and in the movie. But it's if you like film, you're going to like this film. And it's loosely, maybe more than loosely, based on Steven Spielberg's own life and how he grew up.
Well, I went into this kind of cold. I knew it was. That's about all I knew.
Okay,
is that it was based on Steven Spielberg's childhood? But I'm like, how much? Like, is this a biography? Is he just making up a story about himself? That's kind of weird. And I remember looking at you at the very end of the movie going, I instantly want to see an interview with Steven.
Right.
And then I never watched it.
Well.
So did you happen to dive?
Yeah, so I dove a little deep into it. So the basic premise of the story is that this young man, through his love of film and the experience of his parents' marriage falling apart, that's basically the arc of his story and how he deals with that. So Steven Spielberg's parents did get divorced when he was, I believe, 19.
Wow.
And that was a big part. In fact, the interview I was reading about was that you see in a lot of Steven Spielberg's film, there's an absent father presence in it. You have it in Close Encounters, you have it in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and there are other films like that. And that is a reflection of him and his estranged relationship with his father. Interestingly enough, in the movie The Fablemans, again, spoiler alert here, okay? In the movie The Fablemans, the main character discovers that his mom is having an affair with the dad's best friend through him making film. Steven Spielberg discovered that too, not in the same exact way, but at 16 he knew what was going on, but he always blamed his dad for it.
Oh, wow.
He always blamed his dad for it, and that's why he didn't really come back to his dad in a good relationship until many, many years later. So that part is true. The part of them owning a monkey is true. They did have a monkey at one point in their family. He did have 2 sisters.
Yeah.
And the final scene where he meets with that famous director, and the director with the eye patch.
Yeah.
Exactly how it was filmed in the movie. That's exactly how it, and it was one of those big moments for him in becoming a director.
Love it. That's really cool. There's another movie that's out right now, totally unrelated to what we're talking about today.
Okay, tangent alert.
Yeah, it's the Weird Al Yankovic movie.
Oh yeah, haven't seen it yet. Are we gonna do an episode on that?
We should.
Okay.
But this was Weird Al telling his own story in Weird Al ways.
Oh, gotcha.
So
a spoof
bloated.
of his own life about spoofing.
Yes. Okay. And it just gets more and more spoofier.
Gotcha.
And there was part of that going, okay, what am I watching? Because is this true? Is this not true? Do I care? Whatever. So anyway, it's good to hear some of that backstory. Next time, we'll have Steven Spielberg in here and we'll just interview him.
Absolutely.
We should have got on.
You have his number?
That's right.
I'd like to call him.
So, I mean, this theme that is woven throughout this is this boy who is chasing his passion.
Right.
And so what we're going to talk about today is the dangers of chasing your passion.
That doesn't sound very inspirational. Worst TED Talk ever. Because
5 ways that chasing your passion is the worst.
Well, because the reason I like the angle we're going on is because our society is mostly saying to people like, chase your passion, like be who you are, like
what makes you happy?
What makes you happy, and do it, which is fine. I'm not against that, but we have to go into these pursuits realistically, knowing that, chasing your passion doesn't just happen, and you don't just make it all happen and all of a sudden you're a billionaire because, you created the one thing that the world needed. Yes?
False.
What do you mean?
Obviously you haven't been watching Instagram and TikTok and like Dude Perfect. Those guys nail that shot every single time still.
First time.
I'm like, how are they doing this?
The basketball shot off the top of the stadium into the middle of the field through a hula hoop as it's spinning.
Yeah.
It only took one take.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's attainable because I watched them do it over and over again.
No, it is not.
This is the problem, though, and I see this in my kids a lot.
Okay.
I see them tackle life with just all force. Let's get up and go.
All right, nice.
And
that's good.
Yeah, it is good. I'm proud of them. Yeah, but it's massively unrealistic.
You have unrealistic children? Who would have thought?
Just showing up and picking up a sport on day one does not mean you're going to make varsity. It is not going to happen. You are not going to jump over a bunch of others who have dedicated a lot of time and effort. Yeah, but you just watch a YouTube video and you're done. And that's easy. We're done. Yeah. My wife goes and repairs, she repairs cars and washing machines and dishwashers just by watching a 5-minute YouTube
How much does she charge? I got a car that needs new brakes.
It never works out like the YouTube video, though.
Oh, okay.
You watch the 5 minutes and you're like, yeah, I can do this. 14 hours later, 3 trips to Lowe's, you're like, why is this so hard? Because it is.
Right.
Because it's hard. And that's how life is.
Well, and let's jump into this because that's the first thing that you have to understand. If you're going to pursue your passion, and we're saying pursue it. We're saying go for it. If you have something you're into, go for it. But just know, on day one, this is hard work. It's going to take some massive action on your part to make your dream come true. If you're going to write a book, trust me, you're not going to sit down and get it done in a week.
No.
Your 14 chapters of this great story you want to tell.
Right.
It's going to take massive, massive work. And I've been writing a book for 6 years.
Wow.
Right. And
what's it called?
It's actually, you really want to know? I haven't decided the title yet, but what I've done is, I'm a pastor, right, by trade. So I wanted to tell the story of Jesus, but if it was happening today. Like if Jesus hadn't shown up and now he shows up in 2022.
Oh, dang.
Or 2023 or whatever year it is that you're watching. You're in a time machine. You didn't know that. Anyway, what would it look like?
Wow.
How would the story of the wedding feast where Jesus turns water into wine, right? How would that play out today?
Wow.
Right? So kind of retelling that.
I was kind of hoping I was in your book, but sure.
You might be.
You can be about
You can be
Jesus.
Judas. Judas' name is now Kevin.
Sounds about right. Hard work. I do like it, and I do know I threw my kids under the bus earlier. I love them. I do this too, though.
Sure.
I really wanted to learn guitar about 8 months ago.
Really?
I've always wanted to learn guitar.
Weren't you in a band at one point?
Yeah, but I sang. Like that's
singing is easy.
Singing is easy,
but guitar is hard. Singing is not easy either.
Yeah, all you gotta do is show up, and your instrument is built in. Yeah, and then you just sat there and watched all the instrumentalists and the drummer. Oh, the drummer had it bad, carting their kit in and out.
Okay,
it was the worst. Anyway, learn to play guitar, right?
Okay,
it's really hard.
Yeah, man.
like not only it's hard, it physically hurts.
Oh,
like
man,
my fingers start to hurt, and I learned 2 chords in like a week, and I still couldn't remember them. And you have your right brain has to talk with your left brain, and you're strumming, and it's just like this is hard. And so now my guitar is collecting dust in the corner of my room because I decided that passion is not something I'm gonna chase right now.
Yeah,
it's too hard work. It's a lot of hard work.
And I do want to say, like, the hard work doesn't. If you really love something and you really are passionate about it, it's still hard work, but it doesn't feel that hard,
right?
Because you love it, you're enjoying it, but there is going to come a point where something in the process of you becoming an expert in this or making money off of something, your pursuit, what you're doing, will become hard and will become not enjoyable.
Yeah.
So you got to know that, because hard work means you got to stick with it too, and you got to push through those tough times where, man, I thought writing this thing was going to be so easy, and now I'm like stuck and I don't have any more ideas of what to write. So how do you push through and get beyond the barriers that you're facing, that your wife fixing the thing or whatever. So it's hard work also with relentlessness put behind it.
Well, and I think that's the key. Stay on it and be in it for the long haul, for sure. Another danger of chasing your passion is just cost. It's always going to cost you something. Always. I think you have to say yes to so many things, and because of that, you are always saying no to something else.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just using the guitar as an example. If I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to have to take something out of my life to be able to continue this. Wasn't willing to do it. Passion went away. Like it just went away.
Yeah, and you got to walk in with eyes open. I know my wife is starting a business, and there's been lots of costs related to that. Cost of time, right? Costs of money.
Sure.
You don't start a business without some initial investment and continued investment. Right. So she had to walk in knowing, like, okay, this is what it's going to cost me, and am I willing to pay the cost? It's also time cost with her husband.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that to complain. I'm very happy for her, and I want her to be successful. And I'm paying a cost too. I'm saying, okay, honey, go do your thing, and I'll go hang out with Kevin at the movies or whatever, Right. So there's all kinds of costs. There's physical costs, right? Maybe you have to stay up late because the only time you have to work on your passion is late at night. I've got a friend who abandoned his architectural business to do ministry, but he still had to make ends meet, and he also wanted to spend time with his kids. So he had to weigh it all, and he says, okay, well, my kids go to bed at, say, 9:30. I don't know the exact time, 9:30. So that means I can only work on my ministry. And he was doing content creation for kids. At 9:30 p.m. is when I can start. And he would work until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then get up at 8 to get them ready for school, and and that was the cost he was willing to pay. And he could have complained and said, like, I can't pursue my passion because of these dumb kids and these responsibilities or whatever. And no, he says, no, I'm gonna have it all. I'm gonna try to have it all, but know what it's gonna cost me. And it costs him physical sleep. Right?
I mean, Jesus warns his followers of this when he invites his disciples in to know the cost. There's going to be a cost to do this, and I think it comes with a lot of wisdom in that invitation to explore what is this going to cost you before you start chasing it.
Right.
Usually, we don't do that.
No.
We just jump right in. We're following our heart, and we're not really weighing the cost. The true cost of what this is, and then we get in trouble.
The example Jesus used was building something. He says, if you're going to build a structure, you have to measure the cost, because then you're going to go in, and then when you run out of resources, you're not done with the project, right? So if we don't count the costs in pursuing our passion, we're going to get to a point where we can't pursue it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's just a half, job done, and you're just like, this doesn't feel good, and now you feel bad about yourself, and you just go down that spiral. So counting the cost, I think, is a huge one, and I think Jesus was right.
Yeah, huge danger of chasing your passion. A third one is this battle for control.
Okay.
And do you remember that scene in this movie where the uncle, was it the uncle? Was with the kid in the bedroom. It was such a great scene.
Good. So good.
And there's a line where he says, art versus everything else.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying, this is your war. This is what now you're going to chase. You're either going to chase your art with your full passion, or you're going to chase everything else. You get to choose. And really, it's this giant warning of how a passion can dethrone everything else and take over your life. And you better be ready for that. And how are you going to handle that? Is that something you want? And if not, prepare yourself for that battle, because it's coming.
Yeah. Just because you have a passion doesn't mean you have to let it take over your life.
No.
Right? You can let it take over your life if you want, and then just be about that, and that's fine. I wouldn't do that, but just know that thing can easily overpower and just take all of your focus away from everything else in your life.
And I would argue your passion, if it is truly your passion, it will always fight for control. Always.
Interesting.
I mean, if this is something that I can let go, then I would argue it's probably not something you're pretty passionate about. But if you're truly passionate about something, it will always fight for your full 100% attention. And you're going to have that battle with it. You're going to have to find that balance of bringing others in, or else that's all you're going to do. And then you see a lot of people who later on in life, they're defined by that passion, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's what that turns into.
Yeah. And that goes into this next thing, which is, because it becomes your focus, and because you're almost saying it's inevitable. Like, you have a passion, it's going to take over.
Yeah.
So then, how do you then keep life in balance? Because you still have to shower, you still have to eat, you still have to, take care of, if you have a family, you have to, have a relationship with people, if you have a loved one.
Friends. You have to have friends.
Right.
Be in community.
So just know that that's going to pull you to be off balance, and how do you fight that? And I know I deal with this a lot, because I do have some. My passion is my church and my ministry, and there are times when I feel the pull of having to say yes to everything that the church or the ministry needs, and I'm learning to say no, but it doesn't feel good when I say no, because I know that it's this passion that drives me, and I could do it all day.
Sure, right.
Do it all day, all night, no problem, and love every minute of it. But I know that's not good for me. So when you feel that tug, how do you try and keep things in balance?
Well, it's interesting. You get any you get any group of guys in a room, and I'm
this sounds
specifically
dangerous.
talking about guys. You put guys in a room, and you go, okay, let's do some prayer requests, or what's challenging your life right now? What are you trying to balance? Will come up always. Someone in that room is going to be
out of balance.
Man, I just need more balance in my life. It is the go-to thing that I feel none of us struggle with alone.
Right.
I struggle with balance every day. 8 hours at work, 9 hours at work, 10 hours at work. Now I'm off balance. Or going home an hour earlier, and I said no to a bunch of work stuff because my kid has a baseball game, and now I'm off balance at work. I didn't pray enough. I didn't read enough. I didn't study enough. I didn't be in community enough. And I think the more things you invite into your life and the more things you chase, the more you're probably going to be off balance, which is why I think guys are dumb and we're all off balance because we all want to, we are doers, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we get ourselves in trouble.
But maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. Maybe that, because, we've talked about, is it even possible to do this balancing act well? And maybe life is just living from one imbalance to the next. Right? Like,
that sounds massively depressing.
Well, but
the worst TED Talk ever.
But think about it this way. When you're with your family, maybe you're so present with your family that all the other stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you know that that's going to conclude at some point, and then the schedule sends you to church. And when you're in church, you're present in church, and you're doing that well, and you're plugged in. And then when that's over, you're going to go hang out with your friends. And when you're with your friends, you're present in that moment. And yeah, you could look at it as because I'm doing this, I'm not doing the other thing, so it's out of balance. I don't know how else to live.
That's a really good way to look at it. Yeah.
And so when I'm in the thing, be in the thing.
Be in the thing.
Be in the thing. Don't be looking at your phone. Don't be getting emails and texts from your boss. Right. This is, to me, is where I get messed up. And so when I'm with my wife, be with my wife. When I'm with Kevin filming a podcast, be in that moment, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I think you've opened my mind to a new reality that I want to explore more. Yeah. Living out of balance, but maybe it's not called that. Maybe it's just living intentionally in the moment.
Well, I didn't do anything, Milton. I just called you dumb along with the rest of us. So.
Well, maybe that's all it takes. Just insult me and I figure out life.
So hard work, cost, threatening control of your life, taking you off balance. This final one of the danger of chasing your passion is it becoming your identity.
Yeah.
It will define you. Mm-hmm. And I think we see this a lot at the end of careers now. Fast forward, you come to the end of a career, maybe you lose your job, maybe your children grow up and move out of your house, and you're like, I've been mom for 20 years.
Right.
What am I now? Or, I've been a web designer for 20, I've lost my job. Now what do I do? Well, you're still you. Like, there's still things to do. And I love going back to what you said. Well, be in the moment. Now you're in a different stage, so balance there. I love that. But chasing that passion, the danger is that it's going to define you.
Yeah, and think about the characters in this movie, especially the main character, Steven Spielberg's character. He was all about the film.
Yeah.
And when he wasn't, he didn't know how to be. He didn't know how to be himself.
Right.
He had to be about that thing. And I'd love to ask Steven Spielberg someday, and I'm sure he's watching, and he'll make an appointment to talk to me.
In the comments, Steven, you can ring the bell.
But we only know Steven Spielberg as a great director and writer, or, a man of film, right? Is that how he wants to be known? Right? Is that how he wants to be defined? I know he's a husband. I know he's a father. Yep. He's other things as well. And I'm not saying that's bad. I love Steven Spielberg, the filmmaker. I love his films. So I'm glad he is who he is. But at some point, I guess we all have to ask ourselves, this passion that I have, is that how I want to be known? And if it is, great, do it, go for it. If it isn't, then maybe that's not really the passion. Maybe the passion is something else.
I'm just laughing, picturing Steven's memorial service.
Well, if he calls me, I'll do it.
Of someone giving the eulogy of
Well, he'd have to call me before he dies. But anyway.
Steven Spielberg was a great author. And he's up there going, what the heck? I made Austin Powers, for crying out loud.
No, he did not.
And no one remembers me.
No, he did not. We have to fix that. Yeah. Google.
That's funny. So a lot of good stuff in this movie. We loved it. It's a very artful movie. And if you are one that finds yourself chasing your passions, you're going to be very encouraged and inspired by the Fablemans. So that's our conversation for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please ring that bell, hit the like button, and leave a comment. That way we know you're out there, and we'll be back soon with another episode.